All right, we are back, and I am joined today by our good friend, bass guitarist. Let's go.
Thanks for having me back for a second run, man. Looking forward to it. And this is
No
a topic
problem.
I'm uh, pretty well abreast of, so should be pretty epic.
That's right. Always a pleasure. And today we're going to be listing off our top 10 favorite Van Halen songs. So, because you're the honored guest, I'll allow you to start off the list. Number 10.
Well, before I say what it is, I just want to quickly say happy belated birthday to the late Eddie Van Halen. We probably should have done this around his birthday, but scheduling conflicts and stuff. I picked this up back
Oh,
around
really?
around the time that he had passed away, and I would have never bought a Life magazine otherwise. But there's nothing else but like good Van Halen content, so just thought I'd show that, and
Nice,
also
nice.
thought it would be good to show my Wolfgang. So you know, actually recording my single on this guitar because it's got so much hair to the way that it sounds. So
Very cool.
um, put this to the side. But so my top 10 going into my list, um, if I were to make a list just based off the songs that I gravitate towards, they would all kind of cluster towards one album, and you're going to find out what that is. But I tried to, instead of basing it on what I love, I tried to base it on what I think a definitive Van Halen list would be. So I looked at all eras, but number 10 for me is definitely a banger, and it's Ice Cream Man from Van Halen 1, 1978. I just think it's really cool because it comes in with that 12-bar blues progression. It's got David Lee Roth being all swaggy, but you know that it's not going to stay in that acoustic 12-bar blues. You know that Eddie's got something up his sleeve, and he's just going to just hit the pedal to the metal, and that's exactly what it does. And that solo is just unbelievable. So people who are fans of this song might have even put it a little bit higher, but I think that there's some definitely some more iconic anthemic Van Halen tunes that probably deserve to be above it. But that's my number 10. So
Nice, nice. Yeah, I think I remember one of the first times listening to the album all the way through. That was a big standout moment when the solo came in for that song. So
mm-hmm.
very jaw-dropping experience. All right. So for my list to start off at number 10, I chose, which probably should be a bit higher, but I had to make some room for my list. It's honestly a lot of deep cuts. That's what I kind of gravitated towards for the most part. I feel guilty for all these classic songs that probably should be on the list but didn't quite make the cut. But for me, I had to make room for one of their best singles, I think, and that is Unchained from Fair Warning. Probably his best riff among many. I mean, you could throw a dart at basically anything that Eddie does as far as riff solos, but Unchained, very catchy, a radio song, but I think one of the better ones out of the bunch. So my number 10 was Unchained.
Epic pick, man. So I guess go on to number 9 here. This one comes from an album that it's probably low on my list of albums, but I think one of the bright moments, my number 9 would of this album, it comes off of Van Halen 2, 1979. It would be Beautiful Girls, another bluesy riff, but still so metal and so like upbeat, very very Sunset Strip. Just definitely creating that hair metal, 80s LA genre. And I've always loved that riff. I've always, when it comes on the radio, I crank it up. It's a fun tune. So that would be my number 9.
Awesome. Yeah, you're right. Very glam. Almost sounds like a Rat riff, if I could.
Yeah, and it's also, it's also got the right theme. It's about women being on the beach, having your toes in the sand. So very cheerful. Basically, everything that I like about the genre is encapsulated in the song "Beautiful Girls." So instant classic. Probably my favorite song off of that album. So
Interesting. Well, for my number 9, I'm going to go the first one from the infamous debut studio album. I chose Atomic Punk, which usually doesn't make it on the compilation albums, but a very underrated, very cool song all the way through. And then you got that nice ending, that nice dramatic ending with, I think that's the whammy bar. You could probably correct me on that, but there's just
Yeah,
that cool little effect that I think is just a perfect outro.
that one almost made it on my list. I love that song so much, but I probably, it's slightly more of a deep cut, but I would say that I would tune on that song probably versus something like Dance the Night Away or something, just because it is such a rocker. And all of those Van Halen 1 songs, I don't think there's a song over 3 minutes long on the album, is it? I mean, they're just short, it's a really short, really hot, hard rock songs. So yeah, that's definitely one of the ones that I would gravitate towards off of that first album. So that was what we did, number nine.
Yep.
So we're on number 8 now. We were talking about this one before we went live. This one comes off of album that was released the year that I was born, 1991, for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. The song is Pound Cake. What can you say? I mean, he uses a drill, on the pickup to get that, I guess I could try to simulate it, see if my pickup would.
Yeah, go for it.
No, I don't think I can do it like he does. But you get the point. Great banger, Sammy Hagar era song. It's hard to say it's hard to say who the better front man for the band was, but you can't deny the powerhouse that Sammy Hagar was, and just over and over again putting out epic song, just picked right up with the band as soon as he joined, and both eras are just so strong. And if I had to pick a song from the Hagar era that I think is probably my favorite, it would be Pound Cake. So that was my number 8.
Awesome. Yeah, I think we are Sammy Hagar respecters here on this show, so you're in good company. I know that's usually a controversial topic, but we can show some love for Sam.
For sure.
Well, speaking of opening songs, I think this is my favorite one. If going through the discography, for number 8, I chose Mean Street from Fair Warning, back to Fair Warning again. And this is just, to me, a very dramatic build-up, a very cool setup they do, and then going right into that cool outro. I just think it's a very cool way to start off the album, for sure.
It was one of Eddie's many instrumental ideas that could have been a song within itself that he did over and over again, like Spanish Fly and Eruption. And it just, he keeps coming up with these ideas that they wouldn't necessarily fit in the framework of a song, but he always figures a way to stick them in an intro or do something, with a little tapping part with his hands and everything. And he can always merge all of those together in a live solo, and just so epic. And everything is great about that song, from the intro to the riff itself. So, so iconic.
Sure.
For me, number 7. So I actually went a little bit recent with this one. If you've never listened to A Different Kind of Truth, the album, absolute rocking album through and through. The songs are so heavy and aggressive, and they have so much life to them. The song that I chose was She's the Woman. Just the intro was just, you don't expect that. After that first song, I think it's the second track on the album. I could be mistaken, but
I think so.
It's just right into it. It's like one of those makes you want to drive fast, and it was Eddie really just kind of went all out, and his playing was so over the top on that album. So I had to put something from that album on here. And I think that song, I seek that song out when I'm working out. I always put it in a playlist. It's really much a banger. It's a good workout song. So
Gotcha. Yeah, I know with that album specifically, Tattoo's a little controversial for some people, but then once you get to that second song, it is classic Van Halen, as you know. So Very cool track for number 7. Next on my list, we're going to Women and Children First, and I think we're going to be here for a while. But I chose Romeo Delight, which is, like a light up the sky, somebody get me a doctor, as you said, a straight ahead rocker. And it's like a heavy metal song, honestly. I don't know if we want to use that label for the band overall, but I think in that song, it's definitely
Oh no, I definitely would. But just with just a lot more flash, than your average metal song or average metal band. So definitely think the term is applicable, and that's definitely a tune that if people don't know it, they need to check it out.
Definitely.
Let's see. That was 7, right? Are we on 6 now?
Yep.
Okay. So my number 6, going to echo one of yours off of Fair Warning, which in my opinion is technically their greatest album for many reasons. Mean Street. What more can you say? I mean, the intro is amazing. The one thing I really like about Eddie, and he doesn't actually do this in this song, but on this album, if you listen to the tone on that album, he was scooping his mids out, which was something that was really unheard of at the time. He had a really, really modern tone. When you listen to some songs on that album, you think, this could have been recorded yesterday because it was just so. He was always experimenting with the Brown sound and trying to reinvent it all the time, and it never was the same album to album. Fair Warning to me is when he really started trying to go high gain with his tone, and Mean Street is it's just a really heavy song. The riff is really heavy, and there's a lot of heavy moments in that album. So that's my number 6.
Awesome. So for my number 6, I got another single, and even though it was, some would say probably maybe a little overplayed, one of the ones that's still on the radio set list today, I chose from 1984, Hot for Teacher. Even though it is still a single, I think it's still classic Van Halen. Of course, the awesome drum intro with Alex is amazing, and then segues into that very strange Eddie riff. And just all throughout, I think it's just a powerhouse of a track for a radio song also.
Another example of really wide stretches with his two-handed tapping and, those symmetrical scale patterns he would always do that didn't really fit into any key, but he would, and he did that over and over again. And he was able to regurgitate the same licks in different songs, but still not sound like, the two songs were the same. It was really uncanny how he had the ability to do that. But one fact about that song in particular was that the very beginning was him. It was his car or his motorcycle, and then it faded into the drums. The drums started playing along with it. I think that's the case. You can look that up, but I think I watched a recent interview with whoever produced that album, and they said that's what that was. So it was, people didn't know if that first was actually a car, but it actually was an engine that it kind of faded into a drum beat, so that it's cool for that reason, just
right.
really, really innovative recording. So that was 5 or 6. What are we on?
Now we're on 5.
Okay. So my number 5, again, probably my second favorite album, or my probably the one I think is technically the greatest, but probably the one I would pick as my second go-to, which is Fair Warning, Unchained. Like you said, I think it's amazing because he's tuning all the way down to drop C sharp in that song, and that's just for the time. What was that? 1981, I believe, 82. Yeah. I mean, such a modern tone. He's got that chugging going on. That riff was heavily copied by a lot of different bands like Rat. And just sort of set the stage for a classic 80s heavy metal riff, and really catchy hook in that song. I always like the backing vocals from Michael Anthony and Eddie, and just classic Van Halen. That would be my number 5.
Nice, man. Yeah, I can imagine the influence where it goes. I'm sure it goes a long ways. But for my number 5, I think this is my first and unfortunately only from Van Halen 2, which I've wondered if it was their best for a long time because I think it's right up there with the first album and it has a lot of the same beats too. For my number 5 is Out of Love Again. And as long as I can remember, it was always, I think, my favorite for the longest time from the second album and my go-to song. You talked about like a go-to track. That one to me, even though it's under like 3 minutes, to me it hits all the right beats and it's just a
Mm-hmm.
perfect fat or kind of a groovy kind of a song. So I just had to
Well,
make room for that.
that's how I am with music in general. When songs start getting past 5 6 minutes, I mean, I know like you know when Iron Maiden started getting really proggy and making like really long albums and everything, that's great because people expect that from them. And it's like there are some songs of theirs that can keep me captivated for that long, but in general, I prefer their shorter rockers from back in the day, 2 minutes to midnight, stuff like that. And it's the same with Van Halen. If they tried to veer off in a more progressive direction and start making these long, complex songs where they're not playing the same thing twice or whatever. But that's not Van Halen. Van Halen writes hooks. They write riffs that you want to hear repeated. So yeah, that would definitely be one of them. Um, so we're on number 4 now.
Yep.
Yeah. So my number 4, one you already mentioned off of 1984 album. I think this was the last album they did with Roth before they brought in Hagar. Hot for Teacher. What can you say? Killer video. Sit down, Waldo. Is that what it was? Just great Gen X moment. Just you just want to be there. It's just like a snapshot of American history where, yeah, it was decadent, but it was like people still kind of like, they went to the concert on Saturday night and then they went to church on Sunday morning, and
There you
maybe
go.
not the rock stars themselves, but the kids that were in the audience, partying down and having a good time, but still had morals. That's that video just makes me, it just cheers me up to watch it, and great in the height of MTV, uh, so, and also just blistering guitar, ferocious guitar song, great solo. Just all the guys singing and harmonizing and doing the little dance that they do, the little shuffle dance and the shuffle beat, which they were known for. Just gotta love it, classic Van Halen. So that's my number 4.
Yeah, that song and the whole package too really sums up the band pretty perfectly. So for my number 4, we're back to Women and Children, and I chose probably, yeah, definitely my favorite overall from that album, and it is the Underrated Fools. Just an amazing intro. I remember someone from Twitter described it as a mini eruption. Just
Mm-hmm.
like you said earlier with Mean Street, it's like a whole other song
Mm-hmm.
from the beginning, and then it turns into something else. As Eddie, always the creative genius that he is, and then the rest is this great bluesy hard rock song with David Lee Roth trying to sound like James Brown or something.
Mm-hmm.
His voice is very different in that song in particular. Someone pointed out to me, and he's got the personality, he's got the high energy. So
Just
it
lots
really
of
has,
swagger, just lots of swagger. Does it better than anybody else, and
exactly.
I totally agree. And it's like you were saying, with like Eddie being like the tinkerer that he was. He was not just a tinkerer in terms of like inventing things and tinkering on amps and trying to create tone and trying to create different devices that he could use and pioneering different ways of playing. But I mean, he was tinkering with how to play. Like what can you do with this hand and that hand, and he just sort of. I think there was a quote by him. He didn't have a textbook, so he wrote his own. And if he had learned by the book, he wouldn't play the way that he did. So definitely bestowed a lot of gifts upon us as guitar players, and that's he pretty much created the 80s in terms of heavy metal. It wouldn't have been the arms race of like how to, shredding and playing, one-upsmanship that it was without him. That actually kind of ties into my number 3, which is a very similar song to Hot for Teacher. If you listen to the two, they're about the same tempo. They use the same shuffle beat, and it's I'm the One off of Van Halen 1. And just that beginning lick where he's, he plays such a fast riff. It's such a really high tempo riff, but he plays it with such swing. It's da 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 da. Like it's got so much swing to it, and then he throws those blistering licks left and right. It's just there's no unfilled space in that song, and it's one that if I really want to be face melted and just hear classic like Eddie going for it, it would be I'm the One. And again, another example of where he's using like those symmetrical scales. He actually plays a part in the solo of I'm the One that he regurgitated again on Jump at the very end of the solo.
Oh, really?
So, like, I don't know if you can hear this, but I'll show you what I mean.
Of course.
There's a part the little part.
The end of the solo. Oh,
but like on Jump, he goes, at the end of Jump. It's the same pattern, but it's just, he just regurgitates the same like symmetrical scales over and over again. But he's so much of a genius that he can get by with it, and he can make it sound. He can kind of trick your ear to where like you don't think he's just writing the same song over and over again, but it's still a signature sound, and it's him,
Right.
know. But that would be. It's so cold in here, my fingers are not working properly. But yeah, that's I'm the One. That would be my number 3.
Nice. Well, that's perfect because my number 3 is also I'm the One. As you said, it's got that swing to it. I guess that makes the doo-wop fit in a little better. I know that sounds random for a lot of rockers, but as you said, there's a lot of the classical influences are there. It's not just random party rock. He's got the swing, as you said, the swing influence in there. And so you can definitely.
I was wondering if we would have two the same, because that's why I was anxious to hear your list, was because I want to see how similar we thought of Van Halen and how similar, pretty widely different so far. Because yours seem to have more deep cuts and mine are more anthems and bigger songs, but definitely songs that your casual Van Halen fan might not necessarily know about if they haven't really listened to the first record all the way through, or Van Halen 2. So, but
yeah, exactly.
So that was number 3. We're on number 2 now, right?
That's right. The top 2.
Top 2. So this one is one that everybody should know. If you don't know it, you should smack yourself. Ain't Talking About Love off of Van Halen 1. That riff is just Van Halen, that riff is, you play it and everybody knows it, and it inspired so many players, the way that a lot of metal riffs were written, especially in the preceding decade or succeeding decade. It's only uses 2 chords, it's I guess it's A minor and G, right? A minor and G, the whole song, bum, ba-dum, bum, and then it's just outlining the different notes of A minor and G, and then it's got a really simple solo. But for some reason, Eddie can take something so simple and straightforward and make it sound like you're hearing something more complex, and it's really weird how that works. And the tone just complemented that song so well with like the phasing in and out, the way he always was. He always wanted some kind of out of phase sound, and he was always chasing that throughout his career. So, Ain't Talking About Love, number 2.
Definitely one of their best anthems, and unfortunately, I didn't put it on the list, and that was one of the ones I really wanted, but I don't know. I had to be contrarian with all these deep cuts. So, but yeah, I love Ain't Talking About Love, and it is kind of the perfect song to sum up their whole career with, Roth's personality in there and all the ins and outs of the song. So very good pick. And for my number 2, back to 1984. This might sound like a weird one, but And this was always a very personal song for me, very dreamlike, I think. I think this is one of their best paced songs, I think, overall. And it's one of the last on 1984, Girl Gone Bad,
Mm-hmm.
which has this, it has this kind of dreamy intro, and then it kind of turns into this Led Zeppelin type song with the riff,
Mm-hmm.
very heavy. But still, it's very hard to describe. Just they just got this style that's just hard to put into words. But that one's always stuck with me as a very interesting song.
Sometimes they'll throw in just a completely a left field song, like that. And I thought Little Dreamer was like that. It
Yeah,
sounds like them trying to sound like the Doors or something. It's
yeah.
I remember when I first heard that song, I was like, wow, this is different. It didn't like lay on my ears the way that a typical Van Halen riff would. But yeah, interesting picks so far. But I guess we'll get to our number one.
Yeah,
You
I'm
might be able to guess. You might be able to guess my number one. As a guitar player, I got to go with Eruption. I mean, which is a song. It's
yeah.
a track on the album. I didn't know whether to include it on the list or not, but I mean, let's face it, that's somebody like me who gravitated to picking up the guitar as his main instrument. It was things like this that inspired me. Just Eruption as a solo, just basically creating shred guitar, or at least laying the the bricks of like all of the elements together in one, like, because prior to that you had other guitar players who were basically shredding, but they didn't have the tone, and they weren't putting it all together. But Eddie really put it all together. The pinch harmonics, the squeals, the dive bombs, use of like effects to make the guitar sound like not a guitar. And also Eruption was where Eddie demonstrated his ingenuity, because when people first bought that record and put it on, they were like, that doesn't sound like a guitar. And in a way, they were right. There wasn't a guitar on the market that would do that, because Eddie had to build a Frankenstrat guitar to do the things that you heard him doing on Eruption. At the very end, there was one thing you said a while ago about a whammy bar. At the very end of Eruption, there's a big dive bomb, and
That's
it comes
right.
back in. Well, that's actually not a whammy bar. What that is, you can look this up. There's a guy that he years ago he went through all of Eddie's solos, and he made this compilation video where he taught basically how does Eddie get the tone, how does he play it exactly, because it's not exactly how people thought. People thought that was a whammy bar, but it was a like a phaser pedal where he would hit the note, he would hit the low E note on the guitar, and then he would turn the knob. He would like get down on his knees and turn the knob, and it would just go and I tried to do that with my whammy bar when I was a kid. I was like, how is he holding it so steady all the way down? Like I can't hold it. It either goes up or down. And I realized it's not a whammy bar at all. He's using like pedals to do it. So again, just another example of Eddie's ingenuity. So that would be my number one.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that. But yeah, that is a track. So, and it's got a beginning, middle, and end. So I would definitely count that, of course. For my
It's too late
one,
now.
What's that?
Too late now.
Yeah, exactly. We've already done it. I'm also on the Van Halen 1 album still for number one, and you because that's the second song, right? Technically,
Yeah.
on the album. So I'm gonna go with not just probably my favorite Van Halen closing track, but probably one of my favorite hard rock or anything of all time, which is On Fire. To me, that's got the riff, that's got the solo, and of course Roth, screaming his head off. It's just got the full package for me. So I had to go with On Fire for the number one spot for Van Halen.
When it comes to Van Halen 1, I had to kind of put that album aside. Like I knew I was going to pick a lot of songs off of that album, but just because when I want to sit down and listen to Van Halen, to me, that is the definitive tone, sound. It's what made them famous. It's what they blew people's minds with when they first hit the scene. But like I said, Eddie and all the rest of the guys were reinventing their sound with every album. But Van Halen 1 just, they had been playing those songs in clubs for so many years, and they were just so hot at playing those songs, and they were just such great performances. It's hard for me not to, have a top 10 list of, all Van Halen 1. But I think that if I were going to put an honorable mention, I probably, even though it's kind of a simple tune, Running with the Devil. I mean, it's kind of weird. I don't think that made it into your list too. It didn't make it into either of our lists. So sad.
Yeah, there's a lot of songs. I should have Ain't Talking About Love, since it's a perfect anthem. And
well, Dance the Night Away was one that I considered, but honestly, and I'll tell you one Van Halen song that I cannot absolutely not listen to, and I don't know why it is. It just kind of rubs me the wrong way. Is The Cradle Will Rock. I've never liked that song.
Interesting.
Ever. Yeah, for some reason it just there's something about it that just rubs me the wrong way. I don't know what. I think it may have been the first time I heard it, I was going through a bad time or something, but I just always associate it with negative feelings. I cannot listen to that song. I always skip past it. And even though I know it's technically a good song, it's actually a really interesting song,
Right. Maybe it's a little too poppy, a little too cliche, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah. Have you seen Junior's Grades or,
Yeah. I guess it's kind of like the Unchained lyrics where it's a little goofy, but it works there maybe.
That's what I like about it, though, because I don't know if I mentioned this in the last time I was on, but that's sort of what I like about this genre is I like it as much for what it's not as I do for what it is. It's not artsy, in a way it can be. There's plenty of examples. You can find, like you said, more interesting, more artsy Van Halen songs, but by and large, it's a fun genre, and it's just something I want to keep listening to. I don't really like to hear negative. I don't like to feel negative emotions. I don't like to feel sad, so I don't really listen to a lot of alternative or folksy music or whatever. Even though some of it's kind of cheerful, but that's what you got to love about Van Halen. Always smiling while he's playing, just exactly. Grinning, I think somebody called it teeth metal back in the day because it was just so, he was always grinning ear from ear, so.
That's perfect. Yeah, no, this is the energy we need to capture. This is the optimism we need to encapsulate. It is the, how would you say? Yeah, smiling while you're shredding. It's the hardest thing in the world, and you're doing it not even trying, it seems like, you got that positive attitude. Yeah, that is
all the moves, not, a lot of people can do it, but they have to stay in one spot, but Eddie could just, he could just jump and run, and, he was a master, he could smile. He could, he could look out in the audience while he was 2-finger tapping and with a big smile on his face. So yeah, it's, and you look at a picture of the band, in their element, and they look like what they would sound like. So
exactly. But, no, of course. Well, I thank you, bass guitarist. We'll say it again. You've got a new single coming out, which I can't wait to check out.
And yeah, I was actually just working on it. Yeah, so, I was just working on it before we went live. I was trying to listen to it. I've kind of lost objectivity at this point. Probably going to have to turn my computer off and go downstairs and go to bed and pick it back up in the morning. But yeah, it's almost done. I'm adding lead guitars to it right now, but the song's written, and it's I tried so many. I've gone back and forth writing different tunes, and never was happy with what I was coming up with or the sound I was getting. But think I finally got it, and yeah, it'll be coming out very, very soon. Hopefully, within the coming weeks. So, and that's going to drop on my YouTube channel. Probably, I'll probably have like a premiere. Probably do it live. So if anybody wants to join in on the fun, you can find me on YouTube, just Bass Guitarist.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, we can't wait. Can't wait to see it. And thank you again for stopping by, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Take it easy.